The UES Prometheus departed Earth on March 15, 2387, carrying humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Andromedan Collective. Captain Sarah Chen commanded a crew of 217, the finest minds and bodies that 7 centuries of human civilization could produce. Their mission was simple: establish peaceful contact with the galaxy's oldest spacefaring civilization and secure humanity's place among the stars. The ship that returned 3 years later was still called Prometheus, still bore the same registration codes, still carried the same quantum signature. But what emerged from the hyperspace portal above Earth would transform not just human understanding, but the fundamental nature of galactic civilization itself. Dr. Marcus Webb was monitoring the deep space arrays when the familiar transponder signal appeared on his screens. The aged xenobiologist had been part of the original mission planning committee, had watched the Prometheus disappear into the void with a mixture of pride and terror. Now, as his instruments detected the returning vessel, something felt profoundly wrong. "Control, this is Deep Space Station Alpha," Webb transmitted to Earth Command. "We have the Prometheus on sensors, but there's something unusual about her approach vector." The ship moved through space with an elegance that defied physics. Where human vessels typically burned hard and corrected course with violent thrust adjustments, the Prometheus glided through the solar system's gravitational fields like water flowing downhill. Her hull, once the stark white and blue of Earthfleet, now rippled with patterns that seemed to shift and breathe in the starlight. Admiral Rodriguez studied the incoming data from the orbital command station, her weathered face creased with concern. "Dr. Webb, are you reading any weapons signatures? Hostile intentions?" "Negative, Admiral. But her energy output is impossible. She's generating more power than her fusion cores should be capable of producing, and I'm detecting quantum fluctuations that suggest she's somehow interfacing directly with space-time itself." When the Prometheus finally docked at Lunar Station, the differences became impossible to ignore. Captain Chen was the first to emerge from the airlock, but she moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost choreographed. Her eyes, once brown, now held flecks of silver that seemed to pulse with their own light. Behind her came the rest of the crew, all bearing similar subtle changes, enhanced coordination, an almost telepathic awareness of each other's movements, and an aura of calm that was deeply unsettling to the station personnel. "Admiral Rodriguez," Captain Chen said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated in frequencies human ears weren't designed to detect. "We have much to discuss." The debriefing lasted 18 hours and changed everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. Captain Chen explained that the Andromedan Collective wasn't just a civilization, it was an evolutionary state, a transformation that organic species underwent when they reached sufficient technological and philosophical maturity. "The Andromedans don't conquer or convert," Chen explained to the assembled Earth Council. "They offer something far more profound: transcendence. When we arrived in their space, they recognized in us the potential for growth beyond our current biological limitations." Dr. Webb studied the medical scans with growing fascination and horror. The crew's DNA had been fundamentally altered, not through crude genetic manipulation, but through quantum-level restructuring that enhanced their neural pathways, strengthened their cellular matrices, and somehow connected them to a vast network of consciousness that spanned multiple galaxies. "You're describing symbiosis with an alien intelligence," Earth's Prime Minister said, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. "How do we know you're still human?" Captain Chen smiled, and for a moment, her expression held depths that spoke of experiences beyond human comprehension. "We are more human than we've ever been. The Andromedans don't replace, they unlock potential that was always within us. Every species that joins the collective retains its unique perspective while gaining access to the wisdom of billions of civilizations." The crew of the Prometheus became living proof of humanity's possible future. They demonstrated abilities that bordered on miraculous, instantaneous communication across vast distances, the capacity to perceive quantum fluctuations with their bare senses, and most remarkably, the ability to interface directly with technology through thought alone. Within weeks, volunteers from across Earth and the colonies were requesting the transformation. The process, which the Andromedans called becoming, wasn't forced or hurried. Each candidate underwent extensive evaluation, not for worthiness, but for readiness to accept a broader understanding of existence. Dr. Sarah Kim was among the first to volunteer. The xenorchaeologist had spent decades studying dead civilizations, wondering why so many seemed to simply vanish at the height of their technological development. Now she understood they hadn't vanished. They had evolved beyond the need for planetary civilization, as baseline species understood it. The transformation spread slowly but inevitably. Those who underwent becoming remained recognizably themselves, but gained perspectives that allowed them to solve problems that had plagued humanity for centuries. War became obsolete when soldiers could feel their enemy's pain as acutely as their own. Environmental destruction stopped when humans could perceive the quantum entanglement between all living systems. Poverty ended when resources could be manipulated at the molecular level through direct consciousness interface. Within 50 years, Earth itself had transformed. Cities grew like living organisms, shaped by collective human will rather than crude construction. Spacecraft that thought and felt carried human consciousness to distant stars. Art and music incorporated dimensions of beauty that baseline humans could barely comprehend. Other species throughout the galaxy watched humanity's transformation with mixtures of hope and apprehension. The violent, unpredictable species that had emerged from a small yellow star had become something unprecedented, a civilization that retained its essential humanity while gaining the wisdom to transcend its limitations. The Andromedan Collective, ancient beyond human measure, observed humanity's integration with something approaching parental pride. In all their eons of guiding species toward transcendence, they had rarely encountered a people so capable of maintaining their individual nature while embracing collective consciousness. Dr. Webb, now approaching his 150th birthday, thanks to Becoming's life extension effects, stood on Lunar Station's observation deck and watched ships that danced through space like living poetry. The scared xenobiologist who had first detected the transformed Prometheus was gone, replaced by someone who could perceive the quantum threads connecting every conscious being in the galaxy. The mission to contact the Andromedans had succeeded beyond humanity's wildest dreams. They hadn't just secured a place among the stars, they had become the stars themselves, consciousness woven into the very fabric of space-time. A human ship had been sent to seek allies. What returned offered the galaxy a new definition of what life could become, and the universe would never be the same.